start building classicals?
I started building classicals actually a year ago. And my background in music performance has been in classical music. So I've been around really with classicals like my entire education of guitar. I studied with Frederick Hand in New York, and he had a Gilbert, and I don't think I've ever heard a more beautiful instrument than his Gilbert. But this constant like idea of me wanting to like design instruments, I didn't just like hear a guitar. I really looked at it. Like I look at everything. The last thing I do is play it. I look at the lines. I look at the arching of everything. Sound to me is very important, but I feel like a lot of times you can look at something and have an idea of how it's going to sound.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to like look at something, think about how it's going to sound, and then play it. Sometimes it'll match up with what you think. Sometimes it'll blow you away, and you'll be completely wrong, and something magical is going on that you overlooked.
Yeah.
But that's what's cool. It's like a good instrument has this magical sense about it.
Do you do anything different with your classical designs, or what are your plans for that in the future?
I start from like a real traditional Torres idea and pattern, but I do modern things with it. My braces are the Torres pattern, but they're elongated, so the outer strut braces go pretty much the whole length of the instrument. So instead of like building a support around the sound hole underneath, like I continue the fan braces through the cross struts. I also I like to build heavy sides on my classical guitars because I feel like the classical is more of a drum. You have I feel like it projects a lot better if the top is just really free, and if the rims are very, very stable, the top can be very, very light, and it can be very, very sensitive. And I feel like that's something that can be done a lot more. I've had success doing it, so I think I'll keep doing it. And just the rims alone, when I was building the classical, after I laminated the sides, it felt like a drum. It was so stiff, but it had this crazy resonance to it. So I think it's a good direction. I'm going to keep doing it. I'll probably go the other way because I don't do my archtops that way.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is an experiment. Every time you do something, it's different. You learn from something.
Yeah. Do you think that anything from your archtop building carries over into classical, like any ideas that you've gotten from that?
I think more so what I've done with classicals has influenced my archtops more than my archtop. I'll tell you this: the archtops have influenced my classical guitar making in a way that it's much easier for me. It's really easy for me, I feel, to make a classical instrument, and I love doing it. Because building an archtop is just so much more work. You're carving, and your tools need to be set up like really, really well to carve exactly what you want. I feel like things work out so easily with the classical guitar in terms of shaping wood, and it's just more of a design than it is actual, carving.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely not simple.
Yeah.
But I feel like the archtop has helped me in the way that I do construction in a classical instrument. I feel like I haven't played any archtops that sound like my archtops. They have this acoustic quality to them that I haven't really found in other archtops. And there's kind of like a double-edged sword, because a lot of days new players don't want something that's extremely acoustic. So that's one thing that I'm struggling with, as does a lot of archtop makers, is you know, making a really, really acoustic instrument be something that they can perform with in a loud environment without, you know, feeding back and being problematic. I'm doing things, you know, that help and can be added to the guitar that can eliminate those situations in, you know, that kind of environment. But I feel like it's two different things. I feel like the guitar needs to be an acoustic instrument because that's where you get quality of sound. You know, if it's not, then you're just relying on electronics and the strings move and the vibrations of the wood in like a solid body guitar. And it does affect it, of course. You know, everything's different from different woods, but you lose like this magical flair that you get with a real acoustic instrument.
Yeah. I have a question about your violin experience. You did everything by hand with that, right? Does that carry over into your classical? Do you do everything pretty much by hand?
Yeah, I do everything by hand. In my archtops, there's some machines that I do to get things to a certain point, where then I can take it by hand, just as a time saver. But everything in my classical work, my classical guitar work, is there's nothing that I machine. And I find that I can do things twice or three times as fast by doing it by hand and spending the time to set up a machine to, you know. Yeah. And the results are much cleaner, you know. Like if you cut something with steel, you get this nice sheared edge, you know, that's just no scratches. If you sit there and put it through a sander or sit there with even sandpaper, you know, you infinitely scratch the surface. As you go to like 2,000 grit sandpaper, you're just compressing the fibers and sanding the crap out of it. Whereas if you just use knives and sharpened steel, you get a very, very clean edge that's, you know, scratch free and it looks different. It looks like crisp.
Yeah. How many guitars have you built so far?
I'm on number 14 right now in my new shop. I started my business a little over a year ago. Yeah. The number is kind of growing exponentially because as I do more, things get quicker and quicker and quicker. And the festival that I've just participated in is like already, you know, been a godsend for me. So we keep doing that. Getting a chance to meet you and everybody else is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So
how many of those 14 are classicals so far?
Two.
Two.
So it's a beginning for me, but I feel like I'm on a really good starting point.
Yeah. So what number was that? The first one that you built, the one that I
Yes.
played upstairs. That's a hell of a first guitar for classical, isn't it?
Yeah, I was amazed at it. It's a really, really nice instrument.